Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, I know we're all getting sick of talking about it, I'm getting sick of filming about it, but some of these drought impacts and this dry weather and what it's doing to our crop, and what impacts that we're going to start to see as we progress here in this maturity cycle. Obviously we're out in corn today. Something interesting I happened to come across here that's really starting to show up now is some differences in hybrids' ability for utilizing nitrogen and having enough nitrogen to keep it happy. Cropland and the Winfield Answer System has a extensive testing network where they test a lot of things, but one of the things they test is the response to nitrogen. Some hybrids can get by with a lot less nitrogen, more efficient, and some respond to an extra nitrogen, those manure fields or those we want to be extra aggressive on. But there is a differences in how hybrids interact with the fertility. We saw it earlier this year already, and maybe talked about it in a previous video. There's differences in genetics, how they showed up with potassium deficiency earlier this year. I've never seen so much potassium deficiency show up as we did earlier. Drier soils, potassium is generally held in those clay particles of the soil, which really makes it difficult when it gets really dry for those roots to take it. And some hybrids had a lot more adverse reaction to that than others. We've got the same thing going on out here with nitrogen. We're in one of our test plots here, and on my right, your left, I have one hybrid and then another hybrid over on this side here. What you might notice here, I'll step out of the way here after I point it out, but there's quite a difference here in how much firing is going on at the bottom of these plants. You can see, what we're looking at here is your classic nitrogen deficiency symptoms, where we've got the center of the leaf is firing. It actually is an inverse V. It gets wider as we get to the leaf tip, and narrower the bottom of the V, you might say, is in the midrib, but that'll eventually cannibalize the nitrogen out of that whole leaf. But if I step out of the way here, notice the difference in the lower part of the canopy and how much cannibalized nitrogen we have out of the leaves here versus this side. So you can kind of see there's a fair amount of difference here, what we're looking at as far as that hybrid. These hybrids are 101, 102 day. If I showed you the ears, it's not like there's a big difference. This isn't farther along and more developed. They have about the same amount of kernels that they've pollinated. They're just starting to blister good now, but there isn't any difference as far as where we're at stage of the game that should cause this one to be more nitrogen deficient than that one. But so we kind of wonder, well, did we not have enough nitrogen here? We had enough nitrogen. Obviously this hybrid is happy, this one is not. But one of the things that does probably show up here in a test plot, we typically make sure we have enough nitrogen. We've got enough in the soil, but when the soils get so dry, we can't suck nutrients out of dry soil. Water uptake is also related to nitrogen uptake. A lot of our nitrogen is in our soil moisture, and if we're not taking up any nutrients because it's so dry, it's obviously, why we're running into some drought stress issues. This field had plenty of nitrogen, had instinct. We did a lot more instinct this year to stabilize our nitrogen and make sure we didn't run short. We're probably going to be able to see this in some manure fields too, where it's not about how much nitrogen is there, it's how much can that plant and that soil take up at that time, and hybrid differences are out there. So I kind of wanted to make you aware of that, because I know a lot of you guys maybe are going to start going out into these fields and seeing how well pollination happened now that it's kind of cooled down some, and we probably are going to start noticing some nitrogen showing up on the bottom of the plants and wondering why. So we just have to be aware of that, and that our lack of nitrogen in the soil has made those roots struggle to take up nutrients, and that's an obvious thing we've had with the dry weather. I'm filming this on Thursday. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, we're looking at and watching kind of some rain puddles form. Maybe we're out dancing in the rain puddles. Hopefully we're not looking with a telescope to try and figure out where the rain clouds went and missing out on another one. But one last thing I wanted to touch on, kind of make this a dual purpose episode. I'll make it quick, but We've talked about spider mites showing up in the bottom of the corn canopy before, and also in the the bottom of the soybean canopy. That's progressed this week. We've got a lot more spider mites showing up, progressing up the plant. I am concerned. Spider mites like hot, dry weather. Obviously, we've had plenty of that. This week's forecast looks a little better. They seem to be more able to expand their populations if we get above 85. Forecast looks better for that. Obviously, we've always talked about if we have adequate moisture, we don't have as much problems with spider mites, but we've got enough around now where one rain is not going to wipe out the population. We may not see much progression, but we need to keep watching it, even though it's going to cool down here, and hopefully we do get a rain, because they can really cause problems. And just another note on spider mites, if we're looking at they're bad enough where we want to treat them, we got to be careful what insecticides we use. Some of them we've already got generated resistance for the insecticides we commonly use for spider mites, and we got to be careful of what we're targeting them with. So with that, I just wanted to touch on a few more things that are going on out here and make you aware of that. And if you've got further questions, talk to your CFE agronomist. With that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.